Hello and welcome to T Money Talks. In this week's episode, T Money is going to talk about their desire to go back out into the world again. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Hello and welcome back to the final few episodes of Season 3 of T Money Talks. This is episode 26 of Season 3, and Season 3 is slowly coming to an end, which means I finally get to have my break because I am slowly not really having ideas for a podcast episode. So that's kind of sucks, but at the same time it's good because the podcast is coming to an end, which means I don't have to really stress too much more about podcasts and episodes. Although, of course, I do plan to do more filler episodes during my hiatus, during my break, my time off between seasons for T Money Talks. I'm definitely going to get more filler episodes because having 4 this season was awesome, but I just really wish I would have saved them for the end rather than using them in the beginning, which kind of sucks. So I would definitely like to have more filler episodes prepared for season 4, just because I know as we get later on in towards the end of the season, I tend to get a little bit of the creativity starts draining within T Money, and so it becomes harder for the podcast, and then I feel like things aren't as exciting during the start of a new year, so you really don't get really good information or good things for me to catch you up on, which is why I plan on doing more filler episodes, doing more time off, so that during the hiatus breaks, I can have guests come on the podcast and we could do some good episodes on that. And then I could just have more episodes in my pocket, So I just really want to. This 2023 is really all about me getting my. Well, sorry. I know you probably thought I was going to say a bad word. But no, you don't know where that sentence was going, because although I was going to finish that train of thought and go into that long tangent, I was like, wait a minute, T-Money, wait a second. I now have to put this into my lists of topics because it wasn't a list, I completely forgot that a podcast episode idea has to be plans / goals for 2023. That will be next week's podcast episode, because this week we're talking all about my desire to go back out into the world, to go back out and live a life once again, because folks, after being stuck in a home, well, not really stuck in a home for the past 3 years, I just don't get to go out into the world as much as I would like to because I don't have a vehicle, and without having a vehicle, I can't do anything. And that's what this whole podcast is about. I do apologize for such an abrupt change in topics. It's just I feel like I made a nice turnaround to this, and I feel like I want to kind of get into this, because if I don't get into this, I'm going to want to get into next week's topic episode, and since that's for next week, I don't want to mess around, So we're going to dive deep into why I don't necessarily think I'm ready for a car, but for my mental health, for my sanity, for my will to live, I think I need a car. I need a way to get out and explore the world. I need a way to be able to just go from one place to another without the stress of the bus or an Uber. I know if I have a car, I would be able to play open mics. I would be able to go visit my niece and my siblings. I'd be able to drive to my girlfriend's house. I'd be able to go to the park. I'd be able to go roller skating whenever I wanted to. I would be able to go places and do things and experience life once again and have things to write about, things to talk about on my podcast, because one of the big things I really, really wanted to do with season 3 of T Money Talks was doing travel podcast episodes. I wanted to do podcasts where where I was at the beach and I was just talking, doing an episode there, and you guys could hear the waves crashing in the background. And I wanted to do another episode up in the mountains and just stuff like that, just traveling with T Money Talks and doing cool episodes like that. And it does suck that didn't get to happen for season 3, but I do know a big reason why that didn't happen is because I don't have a car. And if I had a car, I would be able to do all those things and more. And so as of lately, I've just felt like I haven't, well, for the past 2 months, for December and January, I haven't worked a whole lot because usually by the end of December, there's no shows, and in January there was only 3 shows this month. So I kind of been, the only time I really get to go out is if it's to go grocery shopping or to just some store to get something that I need, or if my girlfriend and I occasionally go out, or if I go over to my grandparents' house and visit my siblings and my niece. Those are like the only times I really get to go out, which I don't like. I do like going to all those places. It's just, it's hard when those are the only places I ever get to go. And like, but places like visiting my siblings, I don't get to do that all the time either because of my lack of car. And so it's like I kind of get stuck in the house more often than I would like to. And usually with work, when I go to work, even though it's not that long of a shift, it's enough of interactions with so many different people that I feel like I could stay sane, with the amount of time I spend in my room versus the amount of time I spend outside of in the real world kind of evens out essentially with my job, because it's like I get all that stimulation and all that like conversation and that those things I've been wanting and lacking during the week by the end of the week. And so it's kind of, I don't know, it's doable for me, but as of lately it's just really been hitting hard that I just want to go back out into the world again. I want to go be able to just drive to visit my siblings, or drive to visit my besties, or drive to my girlfriend's house, or just drive to go roller skating, just drive to do things for myself, to have that independence again. And so I've been looking on OfferUp for vehicles. I have a plan and I think I'm going to execute it once I pick or find a car that is perfect for me. My plan is to get a Honda CR-V, any model, version, whatever. It does not matter to me. My budget is, I'm not going to say what my budget is, but the type of car I want is a Honda CR-V. My budget is not that big. So I am down to get like a 2003 or higher or under. No, yeah, like a 2003 and above, or even a 2000s. Depends on how much miles the car has, honestly, if we're being honest. All I'm really looking for in a car is a sunroof, which almost every single Honda CR-V does have. There are some that don't, but I'm down for it if the miles are good enough. And secondly, it needs to have air conditioning and like heater and stuff like that. Those are like my 2 main things I really want, but I also would like a backup camera. But if that doesn't have it, I'm down to install that myself, because since my budget is so small, I just want a car that has under 120,000 miles on it, because for me, I'm down to put I'm down to spend my budgets. I'm not going to say what my budget is, but I'm down to put my budget in for a car with that many miles on it, only because my plan with this car is to get an older kind of, I don't want to even say beat up car, it's just to get an older car. I don't want to get the same type of car I had before, or just like that newer version type of car, only because I still have to pay people back money for my last car, for the car that I no longer have. I still owe money to a single person for it, and that man is so kind. And so my goal is to get a car that I can afford, that won't leave me broke, that'll get me what I want, that'll give me everything I want to do and more. I would then be able to use that vehicle to do like Uber Eats, or find a second job, or or not a second job, a real job for my second, and then just have my theater job as my second job forever. I would be able to do that with a real car. And so in getting more of an income, I would then be able to start paying the very kind man back the money that I owe him for the car. And so that is my plan, which is why I don't want to get anything new. I don't need anything extravagant. I don't need anything nice. All I want is a Honda CRV that has a sunroof and everything, and there's no problems on it. It has 120,000 miles on it or less. That is all I'm asking for, because for right now, that is more than enough than what I need. Because if we're being honest, I'm still scared sometimes to drive, which is why I don't want to get a new car and have a payment on it and then have to force myself to just get right back into work, finding a real job and going all back into that, because I know that's going to be really hard for me, because driving still can be scary for me sometimes. So I know I'm going to want an older type of car so that I could not put down so much money and be okay with, okay, I do want to already have more of an income and everything, but I could, for right now, I could do just Uber Eats or Postmates or something like that to slowly get some extra more money to start paying the very kind man back the money that I owe him. And then once I feel really set and comfortable, I mean, of course, while I Uber Eats and Postmates, I'd be applying in jobs and stuff, but while I build up more of my confidence, then when I do eventually get hired wherever it is I apply to, then I would feel ready and okay going to work whenever they schedule me. I know I wouldn't feel afraid, or I wouldn't feel anxious, or I know I wouldn't want to call off because I'm afraid to go into work. You know, that's my main thing. And so that's my plan. That's what I want to do. I want to get an older type of car so I don't have to spend as much money, so that I can pay back the very kind man. And after I pay back all the money that I owe, then I will consider selling the car that I have to get a newer and better car. But of course, that I don't know if that would happen right after I finish paying all the money I owe back, or if I would have spend more time thinking about it, saving up more money. You know, I don't know. I don't fully know where I would go from that, other than, or I don't know, not that I don't know where I would go from that, just I don't know how quickly that would happen, because like I said, my plan would be to just pay back the money I owe and eventually sell that car to get a better one. That is my plan. That is what I want to do, and that is what I'm going to do. That is what's going to happen. And once that happens, once I get a car, I will be mentally sane again. And like I said, I've been looking for cars on OfferUp already. I have about 8 or 9 cars saved up on my quick save list already. So it's now just about me going in and asking the people when I could look at their cars so I could either test drive it if they let me, just check it out, make sure it looks legit and there's no issues with it, and then kind of go from there, because I may not be fully ready to drive, but I am ready to get back out into the world. And the only way now or never is going to be able to play live shows again is if I play open mics, meet people, find a bassist, get a drummer, and then just be the bands that Now or Never deserves to be, and just play shows when I can and get booked, and then just start the never-ending snowball effect that will be the rise and success that is Now or Never. I cannot wait for that, and I know this year I'm going to make all of that happen, but I won't spoil what my plans and my goals are, because that will be next week's episode. This episode was just really for me to kind of vent about my my sanity kind of slowly going down the drain, because I haven't been able to really go outside or just get out of my house as often as I would. This past weekend though, thankfully I have gotten out of the house a little bit more, which is good, because it's been really rough just not having a car, not being able to just go out and do things or go places when I want. So, you know, it's a struggle, but I am finding a way to not I'm finding a way to make things better for myself because I no longer want to have my sanity slowly going down. I want to always stay sane, and I know having a car would help a lot, and especially with the car that I am looking at. It will also be perfect for gigs as well. So I'm very excited. I know once I get this car, whichever one it may be, and who knows, it may not even be one that's on my list already. It may be one that I just happen to come across as I constantly search on OfferUp. But nonetheless, I am getting a car. I will be getting back out into the world, and now or never will soon enough be playing live shows once again. I am so excited for all of it. I cannot wait. And now my next step is to just start messaging people and setting up dates and having to be social and talking to strangers and doing all the things I don't want to do, but I'm gonna have to do if I want to get this vehicle. So wish me the best of luck, folks. Please do, because I'm more than positive I got social anxiety, and talking to new people is extremely hard, and it always takes so much out of me, but I'm going to do my best because this is what I need to be successful. This is what I need to be mentally sane, and so I'm gonna do it. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. That's all the tea. That's all that I've kind of been dealing with with that whole chaos that has been kind of luring over me. But aside from that, aside from just kind of spiraling into that all the time, I've also been practicing the drums a lot more. Just the other day, I was practicing the drums and I found a 5-minute warm-up video for the drums. It was an 11-minute video because before each drum warm-up, the guy taught you he didn't teach you, but he made sure to teach you which hands to use to hit which tom, snare, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what made it 11 minutes. But I ended up spending 3 hours 3 hours watching that video. And now you may be asking yourself, 3 hours? How on earth did you spend 3 hours watching an 11-minute video? Well, let me tell you. It was an 11-minute video full of 5 drum warm-ups. The first drum warm-up, it was a piece of cake. It was just 16th notes along the snare and all the toms. After that, the second one wasn't hard, but it was tricky because of the pattern. Because I didn't know the pattern and I didn't have the sheet music in front of me, and the way the guy teaches you like the pattern, I'm using air quotes, is he's basically not doing it in time with the tempo you're going to be playing at. So if you don't know what's coming, to get into it's kind of confusing. So that's what happened to me with the second one. I had to pause it and really figure out what the pattern was, because it was snare, tom 1, back to snare, and then to floor tom. That was the rhythm. That was the pattern, and it was really hard for me to figure out and to keep and to maintain at first. So I had to go really slow and go snare, tom 1, snare, floor tom, snare, tom 1, snare, floor tom, and just kind of like then counting in time with that as well. And so I just ended up spending a lot longer on figuring out the second warm-up than I thought I was. And so by the time I figured it out and I was able to play along with the guy in the actual video, who knows how much time had passed, because I wasn't looking, I didn't have my Apple Watch on, and where I have my drum set up, it's facing it's not facing where the clock is, so I had no concept of time. The only way I was able to know what time it is was if I turned around and looked behind me to look at my clock. And I only did that like 2 or 3 times. I only did it twice, when I first started and then when I finished. because I started at 4 and I finished at 7. It was insane. But anyways, so yeah, it took me, I want to say at least 30 minutes, not even 30. I don't know how long it took me to figure out the second warm up, but then we move on to the third warm up. And the third warm up got tricky. That's where it got tricky. That's where I didn't understand what the man was saying, because he said you're playing 16th notes along all the toms and the snare. And the way he was teaching you which hands to put on which snare and tom and all that stuff, it was confusing as to what the pattern was going to be. And so I probably spent 3 times as long as I did on the second warm-up trying to figure out and master the third warm-up. Because the way the third warm-up was you started on the floor tom, then you went to the snare, and then you went to tom 1, went back to the snare, then you hit 1 tom 3, go back to the snare, go back to tom 1 to go back to the snare, and then you go back to the floor tom and repeat the process all again. If that's confusing to you, I do apologize. I do apologize. But anyways, just as confusing as it sounded, it was for me to figure out as well. And so it took me a really long time to figure out exercise number 3. But when I finally did, and I was finally able to play along with the guy, because that was also my thing, was I didn't want to continue on to the next exercise until I was able to play along with the guy himself, Then that way I knew, okay, I do know how to play this warm-up, and I could do it on my own as well. So eventually, I mastered the third exercise. At what time, I do not know. For how long is beyond me. Then we get to warm-up number 4. Now, warm-up number 4 was essentially the same thing as number 3, but so it was essentially the same as the third exercise, except this time you're playing triplets. So it's faster, it's a little bit more groovier, and it's a little bit more confusing than the first time around. And so this one I ended up not finishing. Like, I didn't get to play that beat with the guy because I just spent so long mastering the 3 other ones that by the time the 4th one came around, I did get the pattern down. I know how to play it. It's just now about me keeping everything steady as I build my way up to 60 beats per measure, so that when I do go back and watch the video, because I still have one final warm-up to learn, because I never got to warm up number 5, because by the time I finished number 4, it was already 7 o'clock and I was feeling pretty hungry, and I was like, I think I could use a break from the drums, And it hit me how long I was playing, so I was like, yeah, let's definitely take a break from the drums for today. And so I did, but I've been practicing exercise 4 and trying to slowly build that one up so that when I do have another day where I can really practice the drums for a good amount of time again. Although I'm going to try to practice the drums at least for 10 minutes every day. Do that 5-minute warm up for 10 minutes maybe. That would be good. That would be fun. But yeah, that was an eventful time. I had no idea I was going to play the drums that long, nor did I, and I also didn't know that I was going to it was going to take so long for me to figure out those rhythms. But it's also like, well, yeah, you've never played the drums before. This is all new to you, sweetie. What did you think was going to happen? It's not the guitar. You're using all 4 limbs, not just 2. And so I think though, since I do play the guitar and piano, I had that advantage of doing my hands, having my hands being okay with doing 2 separate things. It's now getting my feet to do separate things that my hands are doing. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun. And I also, with the help of my girlfriend today, reset up my drum set essentially. And by that, I mean, I kind of just made the drum set a little bit taller. I adjusted the height of everything because I felt like everything was too low for me. And since I felt like it was too low, I was like, let's try lifting it. And after looking online, on Google, what the recommended height for your snare was for an electric kit, I was like, oh, Yeah, that is definitely too low for me. And so after raising it up, it feels a whole lot better to play. And so I'm even more excited now to really get into the groove of everything. And hopefully, after I master these 5 warm-ups, I can move on and learn other warm-ups before eventually learning my very first song on the drums. And I'm very, very excited because I feel like with the bass, I never really had this much discipline, which sucks because I wanted to do that with the bass as well. But I think right now I'm focusing on the drums because it's a whole new instrument. It's something I haven't played before, and I'm very, very excited. And so, yes, that's all I have to say for right now about the drums, because other than learning those warm-ups, I don't have anything new to say, because everything else I play on the drums is things anyone can do. Like, it's just your regular drum pattern. I don't even like it's the most basic beat on a drum that people give you, not "We Will Rock You" either. Anyway, I'm getting tired. I don't know how to explain it. But anyways, yeah, I'm having fun. The drums are cool. I want to go outside more, and hopefully I will get to. But yes, T Money's gonna get a car soon. T Money's gonna be a drum master in at that, probably, honestly, by the end of the year. I don't want to say I'm going to be a drum master, but I'm definitely be significantly improved by the end of this year on these drums. By the end of this year, I'm going to be my family going to be like, "Whoa, you learned to play the drums." And I'm like, "Yeah, I learned to play the drums, and now I'm saving myself more money." Although I would probably still want Gavin to jazzify some songs of mine every now and again. I would like to save some money and just kind of either do drums parts on my own, since I'm now becoming a drummer, or hopefully eventually getting a drummer for Now or Never. That either way, eventually I'm going to save money, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and my sanity will stay sane once again. Now or Never's going to get famous. I'm going to make more money and all that stuff. So I think that's it for this podcast episode, because T Money is very tired today and yesterday. I have done a lot. Today was so windy, and all I've been wanting to do is rollerblade, but it was so crazy windy that we could not. And the roller rink that my girlfriend and I found apparently is not open to the public, even though it's at a public park. Make it make sense, but whatever. We couldn't roller skate, and so it was pretty upsetting. But anyways, yeah, that was my day. But we also did more. Well, anyway, we all and since we couldn't rollerblade, we ended up going to the indoor swamp meet. I got myself some Mexican candy. Very, very exciting. And after that, we came home, rested a bit before going grocery shopping, and then after that, we rested some more before my girlfriend eventually left to go to her house. And that was my day. It was pretty busy, but because of this crazy wind, it was hard to sleep at night because our garage just shakes all night, and it wakes me up, and I'm just like, please let me sleep, So T Money's getting tired, and I finished ranting about all the things that I've had to say, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. I hope you are not losing your sanity. I hope you are going out. I hope you are living life. I hope you are having a good old great time. And that's all for this week, folks. It has been a time. You are all fantastic. And until next week, this is T Money saying live your life, because you are the only one who gets it. All right, bye.